Divine Intimacy number 145, Our Preparation. Presence of God. O Lord, make me generous and faithful in your service. Grant that I may never put an obstacle to your action in me. Meditation 1. The fount of living water from which springs the loving experience of God and contemplative light is really the operation of the Holy Spirit, acting in the soul by the actuation of his gifts. Since at baptism we have all received the gifts of the Holy Spirit, those supernatural dispositions that make us capable of receiving the divine activity, it is clear that God has given them to us, not that they may remain inoperative, but that they may be put into action. Hence, their actuation cannot be considered extraordinary, but connatural, and this to such a point that the loving experience of God and the contemplative light which comes from it cannot be considered extraneous to the full development of grace. In other words, if a soul opens itself generously to the action of grace, if it seconds this action with all goodwill, it can well think that the Lord will not refuse to give it at least a few drops of living water, that is, some form of contemplative knowledge. St. Teresa strongly affirms this and says, "We must not be afraid that we shall die of thirst. On this road, the water of consolation never fails." Way 20. But we must understand that the road of which the saint speaks is the road of total giving, of unlimited generosity, which never says, "This is too much," of generosity which gives itself without counting the cost, and preserves in spite of the hardships on the road the interior aridity and the exterior difficulties. If it be right that a soul who feels itself called to divine intimacy appreciate and long for contemplation, it cannot be wrong for it to try to prepare itself for it. Many souls are refused this grace by God simply because he does not find them suitably disposed. It is therefore necessary for us to work so that we shall not be deprived of contemplation through our own fault. On the other hand, if we have done all that depends on us as best as we can, we should not fear that our work will be wasted. Sooner or later, in one way or another, the Lord will always give us to drink. Meditation 2. In speaking of the spiritual atmosphere in which contemplation usually flourishes, Teresa of Jesus suggests, first of all, an intense practice of virtue, especially total detachment and profound humility. We must note that she does not mean any kind of practice, but exacts that it be a very generous practice and even requires that it be really heroic. The reason is this: as contemplation is a free gift of God, it requires generosity on our part. Souls who are not generous are precisely the ones who will never experience it. This is always the great principle which the saint indicates. God refuses to force our will. He takes what we give him, but he will not give himself wholly until we have given ourselves wholly to him. Way 28. In addition to this atmosphere of generosity, there is also required a gentle and constant application to recollection and prayer. The more a soul knows how to be recollected in God, making its prayer and its vital contact with him always more intimate and profound, the more apt it will be to receive the divine motions. Here, then, in synthesis, is what our preparation ought to be. On the one hand, an intense exercise of mortification, abnegation, and detachment, and this is the practice of the virtues. Footnote 1. This subject was fully treated in the first part of this work. Here we shall take up the subject of prayer. Continuation. And, on the other hand, an intense application to the life of prayer. Of course, in preparing for contemplation, we do not intend to make it the end of our spiritual life. The goal is always love, for sanctity consists essentially in the perfection of charity. Nevertheless, contemplation is a very potent means of bringing us quickly to the plenitude of love, and it is for this reason that we desire it. Our life is a journey toward God, a continual tending, a continual directing of all our energies toward Him. Happy the soul who is strongly attracted to God. Her way is much quicker and easier. This is the great help which contemplation, properly speaking, gives us. Summarily, then, we understand that we must prepare ourselves for it, not to enjoy its sweetness, but to enter fully into the way of divine intimacy, into the way of perfect love, since nothing can direct us toward God and His glory as much as this loving experience and contemplative light, which are the essence of contemplation. Colloquy. My God, if you desire to enter my soul, to find your delight in it, and to shower it with blessings, there is only one thing necessary. The soul must be simple, pure, and desirous of receiving you. But if instead of clearing the way, we place many obstacles in it, how can you enter? How do we expect you to give us your graces? It is really astonishing. We are still full of faults and imperfections. Virtues have scarcely taken root in us. And please God that it has begun. We are barely able to walk, yet we are not ashamed to complain about aridity and to look for consolation in prayer. But Lord, you know better than I what is good for me. I do not have to advise you what to give me, because you could justly tell me that I do not know what I am asking. I want to give myself to prayer and to prepare myself to receive your gifts. My one ambition must be to work, with all the diligence possible, to strengthen this resolution and to be ready to conform my will to yours. O my God, you have taught me the highest perfection to be attained in the spiritual way consists in this. The more perfect this conformity is, the more you will overwhelm me with favors, and the more progress I shall make. T.J. Life 8, Interior Castle 2, 1. Grant then, O Lord, that I may make generous resolutions and give myself unreservedly to you without any division. You are waiting for this, so that you may come and finish your work. I am yours, O my God. Do what you wish with me, and lead me by whatever path suits you. If with your help I am really humble and detached from everything, you will not fail to grant me the gift of prayer, and many others in addition, which will far exceed my desires. T.J. Interior Castle 4, 2. End of number 145, Our Preparation.